This is Jennifer Gonzalez welcoming you to episode 202 of the Cult of Pedagogy podcast. In this episode, I'll be sharing 6 EdTech tools you should check out in 2023. If you've been listening to my podcast for a while, you know that every year I put out a new edition of my Teacher's Guide to Tech. This year's guide is the 9th edition, and we put a tremendous amount of work into making it the best one ever. For starters, we've added 120 new tools in 4 new categories: artificial intelligence, drama and theater arts, early learners, and literacy. We've also added a few new feature pages on microlearning, working with English learners, and publishing student writing. We also added a few lists of 10 throughout the guide, curated lists of teaching-related resources that didn't quite fit in any category. We completely reorganized the tips section, which is over 40 pages of articles, all handpicked to help you make smarter decisions about the tech you use. And finally, there's the main work of every year's update, which is to check each and every listing that's already there and make sure everything is still accurate. Every year, I am shocked by how many tools change their name, shift their primary function, or disappear completely. It takes about 3 full months every fall to update the guide for the upcoming year. And I want to thank my team, Marnie Diem, Brandy Wright, Lucia Hassel, and Kim Darche for helping me make that happen. The guide is packed with tools that can meet so many of your needs as a teacher, and many of them are already well established and widely used. But every January, we like to choose 6 that we think deserve a little extra attention. Most are not actually brand new to the world, but each one has something special about it. Before we get started with the 6 tools, I would like to thank Hapara for sponsoring this episode. Hapara is a suite of instructional management tools for K-12 that is like nothing else. Hapara is the only tool on the market that provides ethical monitoring features, allowing educators to give students timely, formative feedback with a reason for closing a tab. What is ethical monitoring? It's a way to provide visibility into what your students are doing when they're learning online and to help them stay on track without constantly closing browser tabs or punishing them. Ethical monitoring leads to good digital citizenship in students, which is why you need a monitoring tool with features that allow you to foster positive relationships with learners, not adversarial ones. No other product in the EdTech space has a feature that enables educators to give reasons for closing tabs. They simply close browser tabs for students and in turn close off the possibility for them to learn how to exercise their executive functioning skills and make good decisions online. Hapara helps educators build relationships with students while giving them autonomy over their education. Visit hapara.com/cultofpedagogy. That's HAPARA.com/cultofpedagogy to learn more about supporting digital citizenship skill building for students through ethical monitoring. Support also comes from Jumpstart, which is my very own self-paced online course designed to help teachers use technology more thoughtfully in the classroom. By guiding you through a series of 10 hands-on projects, this course will give you the confidence and skills you need to make smart choices about the tech you use in your teaching. It's not about using the coolest, newest tools. It's not about plugging kids into devices and forgetting about them. It's about using technology to design rich, challenging learning experiences for students. Educators who take the course have a choice between Jumpstart, which you do completely on your own, or Jumpstart Plus, which adds the support of an online community and a team of experienced mentors who can answer your questions and give you feedback as you work through the course. Group discounts are available if you want to take the course with a few of your colleagues, and purchase orders are accepted. I'm really proud of how hard we've worked to make this a course that keeps sound pedagogy at the center. To learn more about Jumpstart, visit cultofpedagogy.com/jumpstart. Okay, 6 tools to try in 2023. Let's go. The first tool is ChatGPT, and I am going to be speaking with all of my team members. Each one has chosen a tool that they are going to be talking about for us. And so for ChatGPT, we are talking to Marnie Diem. And before we do, I will just give you the URL for ChatGPT. It is chat.openai.com. Here's Marnie. So Marnie, you are going to, we sort of discussed this earlier, and we decided that this year everybody was not necessarily going to pick their favorite, but things that they just think people really need to be aware of. And so you're going to talk to us about ChatGPT, which is probably the hottest tool out there right now in terms of things people are talking about. So what is it? Let's start with that in case people haven't heard of it.
So when you ask what ChatGPT is, it is a creation of OpenAI, and as of this podcast, it's currently free to explore.
Okay.
In fancy terms that I had to look up, I actually asked ChatGPT to tell me what it was. So it was because I wanted to get it right. I wanted to have an accurate description of this incredible bot, because it's really a bot.
Yeah.
In fancy terms, it's a chatbot that uses a language model called GPT-3, which means Generative Pre-trained Transformer 3, to simulate conversations with users. And it was released in November 22.
Okay. Oh, so it really is brand new. This isn't
It's
something
really
that
brand
people
new.
have just become aware of. It's brand new. And let's rewind a little bit. What exactly is OpenAI? I don't think everybody knows what that is.
OpenAI is the creator. So they are
this is
the
just a
company. They
Okay.
are the company, and they have a ton of other tools out there. So they're a big company.
Okay.
And this is their latest. It's still in beta. This is their latest creation. And it's taken the world of education by storm.
Okay.
If we look at it in plain English, it's a very, very cool tool to have in your pocket because it does so much.
All right. What does it do exactly?
Well,
not how does it do it, but what does
it do?
Yeah.
Well, in plain English, it's like a magic Alexa or a magic Google. Okay. We ask Alexa, explain to me how a radio works. ChatGPT does it in writing. So when I first found this tool, I was sitting at my desk and I was in panic mode. I got up, I went to look for our English curriculum coordinator because she needed to know about this. And I was in absolute panic. I interrupted a meeting she was in, thankfully a fairly informal one, but I interrupted her meeting to show her this tool and she had already seen it. And we were both like bordering on panic that this was going to change writing instruction forever. Yeah. And I still think it will change writing instruction forever because now we know there's a tool capable to do this. Basically, it uses AI, it uses its artificial intelligence gleaned from wherever it has gleaned it from, the internet, any print material, and uses that to write essays, short stories, plays, you name it. So the group of people I was with when I interrupted this meeting, they were all going on college essays. Here's your no one ever needs to write a college essay again. And it made us all speechless. We were kind of a little freaked out. It's a fun tool, but it's surreal when you actually play with it. So we got it out and started asking it weird combinations of questions.
Right. Like, so give me an example of that, because I think what I keep hearing from people that are freaked out by it is that it's actually good. If you hear, when I heard about it, I was like, yeah, but it's probably garbage. And they're like, no, it's amazingly talented.
It's not 100% accurate though. So you still have to fact check the information that it gives you. But we asked it, we started basic because they're getting ready to start To Kill a Mockingbird. So write an essay comparing and contrasting Scout and Jem in To Kill a Mockingbird. Beautiful 5-paragraph essay.
Yeah.
Then took it a step back, write an essay about To Kill a Mockingbird using quotes and reference those quotes. And it did.
And it gave you page numbers too?
It couldn't give us page numbers because there's so many different versions of the book.
Okay.
But when we asked it to write essays with and cite sources, it puts the source in parentheses and then builds your bibliography for you.
Oh my goodness.
So the age of me panicking the day before my, 3-week-long research paper is due in my entry-level college essay course is over because I can just go to ChatGPT and it will give me a viable essay. So you can see how panicked we were.
Okay. And then the panic comes from the fear of basically not even plagiarism, but like computer generated writing now. So kids no
Well,
longer will have to write anything.
it brings up the question of because it's generating original content, it's not going to be findable by a plagiarism checker.
Right.
So it brings up the ethical question of cheating. You do all of this teaching in class. Why are your students going to pay attention? Why do they need to learn how to write well now that there's a tool that even we asked it to write a short story about two dogs. It wrote the cutest little short story about these two dogs going to the park and playing and coming home and remembering it was the best day of their lives. Asked it to write recipes. Get this. We asked it to write lesson plans. It will write lesson plans for you, and it sets it up so that you have your materials needed, your duration, your goals. If you want it to include Common Core standards, just say so and it will include them. Then your lesson setup, your delivery, your review, your assessment, it gives you everything. And it does a really good job. So we were panicked. Okay. We were panicked. I was panicked probably for a good 48 hours because we were worried about once kids know about this tool, and by kids, I mean, I shouldn't say kids, once students know about this tool, what is the reason for them to write essays anymore? What is the purpose of them spending hours agonizing over things? So I flipped into problem solving mode because I think that's how a good number of educators were with this, is they saw this tool and it's like, I'm done. My job is over. What's the point? You don't need to even learn how to write creatively anymore. So we started thinking about ways it can be useful. And I was talking to one of my colleagues who has a 9th grader and 2 7th graders, and she teaches 1st grade. And she said, well, if my daughter is writing an essay on, say, the Byzantine era, and she knows nothing about it, this teacher knows nothing about it, she can go to the chat bot. She can go to ChatGPT and say, tell me about blank. And then she can become educated enough to help her 9th grade daughter do her research paper on it. She can speak to it in an educated way. We were also chuckling because, sometimes you're in a staff meeting or in PD and the presenter is talking about something and you're like, where is this person going? I have no clue what they're talking about. You can ask ChatGPT that question and it will fill you in. So it's kind of like having your own tutor.
It's almost like a better way of Googling something, because when you Google, you still get a very random collection of results and they don't explain things to you. You're still poking around in the dark, kind of. And
you still have to decipher what Google and figure out what Google is. This cuts right to the essence of what it is. So I actually had the privilege of sitting in on a class with one of our middle school teachers. He had just finished teaching a unit about the Golem, and I didn't know what the Golem was. It's something in Jewish history, I think. Sound uneducated there. Apologies. But he had finished this unit with his student, so he was playing with Chatbot, and he asked Chatbot to write a play about the Golem, about how the Golem can protect the internet against anti-Semitism. And it wrote this play. It complete in the same structure that plays are written, where the speaking parts are capitalized and you've got act 1 and scene setting and narrator. And he had the kids read through it and then they analyzed it. And then live in class, he asked the chatbot to write another play, same prompt, and got a totally different response. So the students then were tasked with comparing and contrasting the two plays. And then the next day, they had to go through and take what they had learned and beef the plays up. They had to pick one and choose which play to make it better. So that was a great use of it. It was in a Jewish history class. Social media, like you said, you can see so many people. One teacher had it write an essay. So she showed the class and had it write an essay. And after they talked about it, she had the whole class, everyone had the bot write their own essay. And then the students had to take the essay and break it into a graphic organizer. So like reverse engineer it so they could see the process differently.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So they're working. This is not about banning the tool. It's about using it and interacting with it. And
it's about finding a way that it can help our learning instead of do our learning for us.
Yes.
the most recent one I saw that was hilarious, someone asked it to create a menu for the week. So it said Monday tacos, Tuesday spaghetti and meatballs or whatever. And then it asked it to give it a shopping list. And my brain instantly went to, some high schools have personal finance classes, or you have econ classes or whatnot. What a great way to use the tool to start budgeting. So you have your menu for the week, then you have your grocery list. Now you have to go and make a budget based on that. Yeah. And does that menu fit into your budget? And it's responsive. The tool is responsive. So if it gives you a menu and then you say, I'm allergic to, or I'm a vegetarian, it will redo the menu with only vegetarian dishes for you. So it's really, we also asked it, this was really cool because our first and second graders are big in their phonics program right now. And one of the teachers was writing short decodable stories. So we asked the ChatGPT to write a short decodable story using a certain vowel pattern. And it wrote like 3 paragraphs, a little story with this vowel pattern most prominent. And then all she had to do was, there's a reading assessment.
So this can really help us as teachers also. This is not something we have to fight against. I mean, if it can give us a rough draft of a lesson plan with Common Core standards already plugged in, and then it seems to me that the real skill here is that we've got to then take what it gives us and use our human brains to fine tune it and make it really fit the purpose.
Think about what teachers are doing right now. They're getting ready. Most teachers are getting ready to write report cards. We asked it to write a report card. We learned you have to be very precise. So we asked it to write, instead of a teacher starting from 0 and having to write 30 essays on their students, we asked it to write a math paragraph report card for a 3rd grader who is strong in computation but struggles with problem solving. It spits out what you can use as a template, and then you add in the personalization for the individual student and interject with specific details, and you have your report card templates. So if you have 30 students to write about, you can ask it to write 5 specific math paragraphs, 5 specific reading paragraphs, 5 specific writing paragraphs, and then you have a base from which to go. Because so many report cards many are standardized, but where I am, the teachers write essays on each student. And when they have to
every public school teacher right now is listening to you going, that will never happen.
Yes. Oh no, but we did it at my public school also.
Did you really?
We did it at my public school. Wow. So you have 25, 30 students and you're writing an introductory paragraph about how the student's behavior and it's a pleasure to have them. And then here's a paragraph about their math skills, their reading skills. So a tool like this can totally take that and give teachers the starting point. Like you said a few minutes ago, this tool is not 100% accurate. It is going to make mistakes, as it doesn't know everything, even though we think it does. But when we take what it gives us and humanize it and put in our skill set and our knowledge, we could have this tool for a really positive impact on education in general and on, home chefs. I mean, how great is it not to have to think of a menu anymore?
Oh,
sitting at the computer on Sunday evening. All right, what's our menu for the week? Give me a shopping list.
You're talking about 2 of the biggest pain points in my life, which is drafting my blog posts and figuring out what I'm going to make for dinner. So
take it even further. You ask it to make your dinner menu for the week. Then you ask it for your shopping list. Then you dump your shopping list into Instacart and your groceries show up at your doorstep. Talk about living in a Jetsons-esque era.
Right, exactly.
It is. The tool is, when you don't know about it, and I would imagine there was a collective fear among all upper grades and college writing professors. But now if you go back and would try and problem solve how we can help students use this to better their writing. It's just mind-blowing because it's all machine learning.
And it's probably going to get smarter and smarter the more it interacts with us. So
now it has a history. They've already changed it so it saves your chat history. So you can look back and see, I asked it to give me a potato latke recipe. And it gave me exactly what I needed. And then it gave me 2 more variations if I wanted to put a twist on it.
Wow. So it's Chat GPT. Anything else that
Yes.
you think teachers need to know about this?
I think that if we focus on the fear, we'll be in trouble. If we
Okay.
focus on ways we can use this tool to help our teaching and learning, we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
Our next tool is Talking Points. URL for that is talkingpts.org. So it's like talkingpts.org. And we are going to hear from Brandy Wright about this great tool. Hi, Brandy.
Hi, Jennifer.
So tell us about the tool that you are going to be talking about this year.
So this year I chose this tool called Talking Points. And this is an online, platform. Really, it's open to educators. It's to help communicate with families. So what I love about it, our ESL teacher, he told me about it. And I can give you more details about it, why it makes it so great. But for
Yeah.
him to suggest it to me, and I really fell in love with it.
Yeah. Tell us what does Talking Points do?
So Talking Points allows you to communicate with families through either text message or email in one click. So
Okay.
you can compose a message, right? It can even
Mhm.
include a picture. So let's say you have a flyer or a newsletter or an announcement, that you want to share with your families, then you can send it out to them. Now, of course, a lot of times you use your student information system, but it gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
Everyone is on their phone. Just like the students are, the parents are on their phone. And
Okay.
so Talking Points allows you to create, you could do groups, classes, clubs, and then you can send that message out as an announcement to everyone at the same time. Here is what makes Talking Points so great. It translates your message into that student's home language, and they have over at least 75 languages. So it's not just like the basic languages. So sometimes if you have some different dialects, they have those as well. And they're constantly adding it to it. So when you create your student list, you put the parents' information in there. You say, their first and last name, and then what is the home language. So then you
Okay.
type up your message, and it automatically translates the message into that home language for the student, for the parent.
Wow. And do you happen to have known anything about like how good is it? How good is the translation? Because I know that we were just talking about Chat GPT, and so I'm imagining that all AI based systems now are just getting better and better.
Mhm.
Is
Yes, I would say I've gotten some really great feedback. So, because my school has such a high population of ESL students,
Mhm.
specifically Arabic speaking,
Yeah.
and also Spanish speaking, but then I even have some that do like Filipino. So they've have said I've gotten some really good feedback. And the reason why I know is because they will reply to my message from Talking Points, but I won't ever hear from them when I send out a message from our student information system. But when they
Oh,
get it in Talking
wow.
Points, they reply. And
Yeah.
you can do something as simple as send me a thumbs up if you saw this message. And see what
Right.
happens is when you get an email and the email is truncated with the title of the class and the semester and then the subject of the email, they don't
Mhm.
read it.
Mhm. Mhm.
It
Because it's
just gets lost.
already, yeah.
But
So
when they get
Talking
this
Points
text
is an
message,
app. It comes in an app on their phones, basically.
so it goes both ways. So
Okay.
you can, as a teacher, I can go on the website and I can compose my message, but there's an app. I can go from my phone and send a message.
Mhm.
So you want a quick funny story about Talking Points?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Most recently, we had a field trip. I took about 30 students to this competition, and half of the students were actually competing. So they were there to compete. The other half of the students were there to support their
Mhm.
classmates.
Mhm.
Was having a behavioral issue with one of
Mhm.
my students that normally, to be honest, for the most part, he was pretty good. But for this particular time, he was just really beside himself. From my phone, I text his mother from Talking Points. Now, I didn't have to pull up
Mm.
the student information system. From Talking Points, I said, "Hey, I was speaking with your son having these
Right.
issues." Immediately, she responded, "Oh, all you have to do is this. Go ahead and do this." I mean, and we are conversing, and it was really good because it was instant. And I
Right.
was able to talk to her and address the situation. I pulled him to the side. I've already spoken to your mother. And it was just helpful to diffuse the situation right there from my phone as if I was texting me or you, right? So that
Yeah.
instant communication back and forth with the parent, that was priceless.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, it must be the translation must be pretty good
Yeah.
if she felt comfortable going back and you understood what she said and it worked, and yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
incredible. Is it free? I'm looking, it says it's a nonprofit organization.
Correct. So there's the free version is great.
Okay.
The only reason you would have to pay or to upgrade is if you want more than, I think it's 300 students. So
Okay.
as a related arts student teacher, I did have more than 300 students, but you don't
Mhm.
have to use it for all of your classes, right?
Yeah.
So you could be selective, and most teachers don't have more than 300 students. So
Right.
that was the only time where I kind of hit a wall, was when I
Yeah.
wanted to put all of my classes. So what I did was I just kind of pulled back and said, well, I'll just choose the classes where I have the highest number of ELL students, that I really want to reach out to, or just try to
Mhm.
manage it a little bit better by semester. Maybe just
Yeah.
do these students and then remove those students and go back in. But yeah, the
Right,
free version
right.
is absolutely great.
That is fantastic. Anything else we need to know about it?
Not that I can think of. Again, just for teachers, the app is great. The notifications. So when you send out a message, as soon as the parent replies, you get an email and you can get a notification on your phone on the
Sounds
app.
like it kind of works a lot like Remind in that way that there's,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I
Okay.
prefer it to Remind, because
Right.
I've used Remind in the past. I think that Talking Points is way more functional. They give
Mhm.
you a template that's easy to import your students' information. So a lot of times, and it's just a spreadsheet. So when they tell
Mm.
you, you put the students' information in these columns, and then
Mhm.
you upload that spreadsheet into Talking Points, and it creates all of the students and everything for you, and then you're done.
Wow. That
And you can
sounds
send a message
wonderful.
across multiple classes. So let's say and maybe I might make a couple of adjustments. They have templates already in there, message templates for you to
Mhm.
use, welcome to second semester, whatever it is.
Right.
Mhm.
So, do most teachers who use it with all of their students, not just the students whose families don't speak English, or do they just
Oh,
use it with
absolutely.
everybody?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I used it
Okay.
for my entire classes. It's just
Got
that
it.
it helped if I had multiple students that didn't speak English, if that
Yes.
wasn't their home language, it just was more beneficial
Right.
for them. But absolutely, I mean, I put all my students in there.
Okay. Okay, great. And that just became your messaging system. Okay, so it's Talking Points.
Absolutely.
It's TALKINGPTS. So it doesn't have the word points in their URL.org. Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Tool number 3 is AHA Slides. The URL is ahaslides.com. And I'm just going to be talking about it myself. This is one of my picks. AHA Slides makes any slideshow presentation interactive by letting you create colorful, eye-catching live polls, quizzes, word clouds, brainstorming activities, spinner wheels, and other interactives that gather real-time feedback and engage your students. So let's say you already have a lot of PowerPoint or Google Slides presentations that you've used for years. You can now add interactivity by just importing one of these files into AHA Slides and then putting interactive elements in between your content slides. Then when you give your presentation and you get to one of these slides, your students or your participants can respond through their phones or other devices. They just join with a simple URL or a QR code, and the results appear instantly on your presenter screen. So this is just a way of sort of making a very kind of dry PowerPoint into something a lot more interactive without having to change your slideshow. You can just pull it into AHA Slides. You can they have tons of different options for ways that you can add interactivity. And then you have interactivity, and you can change those things at any time. If one thing didn't work out that well, then the next time you can go back in, and your original slideshow is still the same. So AHA Slides has a free version. It limits you to only a few participants, but they have a pretty reasonable educational price for schools. So my advice would be to just give the free version a try. And if you love it, see if your school will pay for a bigger license. So you've probably noticed some of these tools we're talking about for a long time because they're a little more complicated, and some of them we're going through them very quickly. This is one of the quick ones. It's a very simple concept. ahaslides.com. Go check it out. Number 4 is The Juice. URL is TheJuicelearning. So it's thejuicelearning.com. And we are going to be talking to Kim Darche about The Juice. Kim Darche.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So tell us what tool you are going to be sharing.
So I'm going to be talking about the Juice Learning Platform.
Okay. The
and
Juice.
The Juice.
Pretty great name.
That's what I think all the time.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it. So when my first impression of this was, one of the reasons I love Newsela or Newsela, whichever road you take of saying that, is that it levels the text. And I love that. But I always struggled with where it's not always current. So they have a lot of beautiful pieces you could use. They have a lot of videos, a lot of text sets, but the Juice is actually using current events, but it takes the beauty of leveling it to 4 different reading levels. So it's current events every day. They have the Daily Juice that they put out 5 articles that are about 200 words or so they're short, and at the end there is a question that relates to an ELA standard that's really important for kids in grades 5 through 12 to answer. So you enroll your class and you assign the class a reading level, each individual student, and then automatically the students are given their daily juice in the level that you have assigned them. So it really becomes automatic for them along the way. Then on the teacher's end, there's this insane dashboard that talks about which articles the students have read, what answer they got, what questions they got correct, which ones they got incorrect, how long they spent reading the Juice, and how many articles they participated in. And the articles range, like they go from global cultural affairs to sports. They have infographics, they have social emotional learning. It's just, honest to gracious, it is mind-blowing what the platform that they've built around current events. And they don't pull from different sources. They have a staff of writers that write these daily instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to pull from here. So it feels almost like a newspaper that the kids are being delivered.
So it's written by their staff, but they are pulling from current events. And are the current events pretty well in line with like the stuff everybody's kind of talking about today? You know what I mean?
And that's the thing that just blows me away, because it really is exactly what, like, it's like getting a newspaper for them.
Yeah.
And then they also have these little oranges emojis put throughout their articles, and it's called the extra juice. So you can squeeze the extra juice and it links to an article that they have posted previously. So a student who's really engaged in that can go a little bit deeper. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Okay, I'm not sure if you're going to know this or not, but you said that the level is automatically delivered to the student. One thing I like about Newsela is that when you're on an article, you can manually change the reading level if you want to. Because I've always wanted to put that power in kids' hands so that they can kind of have that metacognition of like, maybe I can go a little higher or whatever. Can they do that with the Juice, or is it like, no, you get what you get?
You get what you get. But you, as a teacher, can go in and adjust the levels, and you can assign articles and then change the level to be like, these are the students' individual levels, or the whole class is getting this level. So if it's a little bit higher order, you can say everyone's going to have this more achievable article for them.
Okay.
But the questions,
go ahead.
The questions are so good. Like the questions are like, which gives the best text evidence from this article? It's not just quick comprehension ones. And they use really high level vocabulary and then trying to get the definitions for that. The questions really blew me away as much as the articles did.
Yeah.
The writing of the questions, in my opinion, was supreme.
Sounds like there are teachers on their staff, or people who have a teaching background. Yeah. And so it sounds like if it's got a range of reading levels, it sounds like, would it be appropriate for sort of like what, like maybe 3rd or 4th grade up through 12th grade? Is it that big of a range, or is it kind of advanced?
So it's really geared 5th through 12th grade.
Okay.
But I can definitely see, you almost have to watch the content though in the Daily Juice if you go any lower, because sometimes it does, because it's current events and the world
Yeah.
isn't always fluffy bunnies, that it does hit some of those more intense things that are
Grown up
happening.
themes and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Stuff that maybe kids just aren't ready for.
Right.
Okay. So it's thejuice.com?
It's
Trying to
the
remember.
learning, I have to get it right. The juice.news or the juicelearning.com. That would be the best way to get to it.
Thejuicelearning.com.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And
I'll double check this.
here's what I love about it as a teacher. So because it's only 200 words, because it's written at a 6th grade level, possibly, I can get content knowledge that I don't necessarily have. So teachers of younger grades, if you're teaching content knowledge in your ELA and all of a sudden you have to become an expert on Roman civilization, you might be able to go in there and pull some content that you can just fill your brain with. Or maybe it's the human body and you're just trying to fill your brain. You can do it really quickly as an educator, get that information. So
there's searchable archives for that. So you're not just limited to the day's juice.
Oh, no. And you can assign things from past juices. And there's infographics, and you can listen to the article or you could read the article.
Oh, great.
So it really has a lot of layers to it. Right along with the teacher dashboard that gives so much information about student progress along the way.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is a great share, and I think it's going to be useful to a lot of teachers.
Oh, so useful.
Yeah. Number 5 on the list is the 1619 Project's Pulitzer Center resources. And to talk about that collection is Lucia Hassel. Okay, so the person we're talking to now is Lucia Hassel, and she is going to tell us about, and I will let you tell me what your pick is basically for this year.
My pick for this year is the 1619 Project in cooperation with the Pulitzer Center's Education Center and their resources for educators who are looking to diversify their curriculum and their lessons, to do anti-racism work in their classroom or for themselves personally or professionally as professional development, and to just make sure that every student is seen and heard and their stories and their history is seen and heard. And so if you're unfamiliar with the 1619 Project, it was originally published as a special edition in the New York Times Magazine, with whom me and my colleagues refer to as the architect of the 1619 Project. That's Nikole Hannah-Jones. She is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and a MacArthur Fellow. She is also now the Knight Chair in Race and Journalism at the Howard University, which is my alma mater here in DC. And the project, when it came out as a special edition, it was originally published to be sort of recognized in 2019, the 400th anniversary of when the first enslaved people arrived here in the colonies in what is now considered Hampton, Virginia. And for me, with my work with the 1619 Project and the cohort that I'm a part of, which is a part of the Pulitzer Centers, which we'll talk about later, it really, to me, was sort of a call to action, almost like a personal push to say, how, and ask ourselves, how does the enslavement of Africans that were brought to this land by force, Africans that were stripped of their culture, their heritage, and their basic human freedoms, how did all of that and slavery position the development of the United States and our trajectory of social economic superiority, and even, the anti-Black racism that has continued to permeate, sadly, our nation for so many years. Many Americans who look back on their history lessons of the United States and thinking about its inception, they may not have ever heard the 1619 at all. And we ask ourselves, like, after looking through these resources and materials, why didn't I learn about 1619? What year do I know? For most of us, it's 1776, right? And it's like, pop quiz, what's 1776 got to do with us, Raul? The
Mhm.
Declaration of Independence. And when we think of the Declaration of Independence, ironically, the pillars are freedom and equality, right? It's
Yep.
basic human rights, which sadly, the irony is when we really think of, if we reframe the lens of where our history really started with enslavement, it's somewhat of it's the opposite of those things. And so challenging ourselves to really think about, why this 1619 isn't a part of the history that we were taught. And as educators, what can we do to change that? Should we change it? How can we do that? And, the 1619 project has started off as that special edition, but it's really grown since 2019. We now have the podcast series, which is excellent. If you guys
I just listened to it. Yes. About a month ago, I finished it and it was incredible. I couldn't believe it was as short as it was. I really hope that somebody does more because
right.
I wanted so much more after listening to those stories.
And now there's also the 2 published books. So you have the first published book, which digs a little deeper and then also gives a lot of the academic resources and references to the original publication. And now we have the children's book, Born on the Water. And what the Pulitzer Center has done is really, because this has become a force in education, right? Especially with those teachers who are looking to do anti-racism work, who are looking to do all the things we talked about in the beginning, making sure their students are seen and heard and their stories are seen and heard, or challenging the critical thinking about how our country was founded and why racism and race is where it is today, right? When you look at the resources, they're really rich in materials. It's essays, it's poems, it's photographs. And the Pulitzer Center has sort of curated all of those things and created a cohort that creates lessons and units using the materials from the 1619 project. And when you go to the website, I know that you can sort by grade level. You can also sort by, and the website, if you want to know, it's 1619education.org. In addition to searching by grade level, you can search by format, whether you're looking for just a lesson, a unit. There are also guides that are really helpful for the books and the podcasts that have been published. You can search by subject. So this is not just for history teachers. This is for professors who are teaching law. This is for science, public, visual arts. Actually, the unit that we developed with our Holton Forward team, and I give a shout out to Ambria Archibald and Jessica Azamek, who are part of the team at Holton that are working with the Pulitzer Center's cohort. Our unit is about challenging students to really look at how can we recognize and remember the role that enslaved people made in making America wealthy and powerful in the country, and how can we memorialize them, or should we? And they've actually already done it. They've created memorials to enslaved people on specific places along the U.S. And they studied what memorials are, what makes a memorial meaningful, whether it's to the artist or to the other. So we work with our art teacher in middle school, which is Ambria, and our social studies teacher, and then I'm sort of the tech piece, but then also DEIB in there to craft this unit where students are really thinking thoughtfully about how do we honor the enslaved people who were brought to this country. And so after our cohort is over, you'll be able to see our lesson on here.
Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting.
So that means any of the educators listening can actually apply to be a part of this cohort. It's annual. They if you go to the website and when you click on community, there's a down arrow, and then you'll see meet the cohort for 2021 and 2022. So this is only the second year that the cohort is run. And each school develops a unit or a lesson that is then published through the Pulitzer Center. So everything that you see that's curated is curated by educators.
Okay. So every year it's a different cohort of teachers who are all working together on their own materials. Those get then added. So this is a growing collection, basically, of resources.
Okay. And it's a collection of it's public schools, private schools, charter schools. When you look at each cohort, it has the name of each school. So you can see all of the schools from around the nation that have been involved in utilizing these resources. So this work, though it can be labeled as hard history, right? I think it's important to lean into this work for many reasons. Some of it has to do, for me, with my ancestry and my roots, and that really grounds me in this work and this experience. But think about it from how we can really reframe and challenge ourselves and our students to think about where we are right now and where it all started.
Yeah. This is all supported by the Pulitzer Center, correct? So it's all the materials are free, right?
Correct. Everything is completely free, downloadable. Yeah.
Okay.
And the podcast as well. It's free to listen to.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing the Holton unit coming out too. That's going to be, it's a really nice specific angle that you all are taking. I don't think that's ground that's been covered a whole lot.
Yeah. And it's definitely work, right? It's not necessarily easy work. And sometimes it's a little like heart-wrenching because you want to make sure that you're being thoughtful about, how you approach this for students of color, making sure that they're not re-traumatized by anything. But then also making sure, like I said earlier, you lean into it with the intention of really helping move us forward, if you will.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
The sixth and final tool on our list is called Along. Their URL is along.org, along.org. In recent years, educators have become more aware of the importance of social emotional learning in our students. More specifically, the need to pay closer attention to our students' emotional state and respond when help is needed. The Along platform is a free digital reflection tool used to deepen student-teacher connections and set up a system for regular check-ins. It makes it easier to build relationships with our students and maintain regular contact with them. Here's how it works. Teachers choose from a database of research-informed questions and resources to share with students. So a lot of these are basically just prompts, like prompts for discussion and reflection. The teacher adds their own response to the prompt before sharing with students. This can be done through video, text, or audio. Students then see the prompt and their teacher's response, and then they can post their own response in a completely private and secure setting. So if you're looking for a way to improve your connection with students outside of academics, along.org may be exactly what you're looking for. So again, to review, our 6 tools this year are: number 1, ChatGPT; number 2, Talking Points; 3 is Aha Slides; 4 is The Juice; 5 is the Pulitzer Center's resources for the 1619 project; and 6 is Along. And these are just 6 of the over 650 tools that we have featured in this year's Teacher's Guide to Tech, which is on sale now. So for links to all the resources mentioned in this episode, including videos that show each of these 6 tools in action, and links to the 2023 Tech Guide, visit cultofpedagogy.com, click podcast, and choose episode 202. To get a bi-monthly email from me about my newest blog posts, podcast episodes, courses, and products, sign up for my mailing list at cultofpedagogy.com/subscribe. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.